Disclaimer: the following video that you're about to view only contains audio only, as it's from a wrestling internet radio show. If you are looking for wrestling video footage, you will not find that on this video. This wrestling radio show may contain strong language that may be offensive to those under the age of 18. If you are under the age of 18, please get permission to listen to this episode. Enjoy, comment, and subscribe. Hey y'all, Black Avenger Lee Sanders here of the RCWR Show and Impact Showdown Radio. Wanted to just take this time out to really set up this episode that you're about to check out, as it is one of my favorites. It's from the vault, that's why we dubbed it that. And it's surprising because I was taking a look at all the episodes that we have uploaded to YouTube, and it dawned on me, hey, we never did upload the episode where Joey Ryan had came by the show. Now, originally, I do remember trying to upload the episode, but I had came across some copyright problems because of the initial song that we had used for our show intro that night. Was trying to play homage to Joey Ryan, him being from the West Coast over in the California area, so I was trying to make him feel real nice at home. I tried to play a little bit of Red Hot Chili Peppers, and that didn't quite go too well with the artist, so my bad. But yeah, so I don't know, guys, somehow I had forgot about trying to go back and re-upload the episode, and here we are right now. So let me set this up properly. A couple of months back, TNA Gutcheck contestant Joey Ryan had came by the show, and he was talking about his experience in TNA wrestling. And this episode, it couldn't have come at a better time because Joey Ryan had just got denied a TNA wrestling contract from the TNA Gutcheck judges, and he was just on this whole viral campaign of trying to stick it to TNA, and he was letting all those people that had cheered for him, that rooted him on, those 87 percenters, as he loves to call them, paying homage to just how many votes came in favor of him, telling TNA Wrestling to give him a contract. And we saw Joey Ryan just go on a series of just sticking it to TNA, just saying a whole bunch of derogatory things about the promotion. And of course, we all saw where that had eventually leaded, as eventually we saw Al Snow take on Joey Ryan at the Bound for Glory pay-per-view, where if Joey Ryan won, he'd get a full-time contract in TNA. He would be a full-time wrestler. And now Joey Ryan is finally officially a part of the main roster for TNA Wrestling, and it's just a matter of time before he gets his hands on the X Division title, the television title, heck, even the TNA World Heavyweight Championship title. Remember, you heard it here first, but just a matter of time. And I just thought to myself, what better time and what better way to pay homage to how far along Joey Ryan has come along so far in his career in TNA Wrestling than by playing this episode for you guys. And a little funny story about this episode. When it had originally aired, the whole episode altogether, it was about 2 hours long. Now, you're not going to hear the entire episode. You're just going to hear the interview piece with Joey Ryan. But what was so funny was that when the show was initially done, and usually when we do our Tuesday night episodes, we're done in about 90 minutes. And here was a case right here where I got off the air at about 12:30, maybe close to 1, and I was remixing the episode, getting ready to upload it to YouTube and a couple of other sites, and the next thing I know, I had audio problems. Now, I could hear everything Joey was saying, but when it came to me at my respective end, I really couldn't hear anything I was saying. I actually had to go back. I had to clean up the audio. I had to remix it. I was up all night. I mean, back then I was not as experienced as I am now with the mixing of the audio and all that. But back then, as a beginner, I had an all-nighter. I was not done remixing it until at least almost 9 o'clock in the morning. And then unfortunately, I was not able to go to sleep after that. I had a number of appointments to do. So I basically was up for about at least 30 plus hours. That's how bad it was for me. But talk about dedication and true story right there. It was a great honor to have Joey come on to the show. And it was just such a high honor. You know, he really didn't have to come on to our show. He probably didn't know anything about our show. He probably never even heard of our show before at that point, as we were still picking up just a little bit of momentum at that point. And as you all will kind of tell as you're listening to the episode, you can kind of tell that I'm being not really too comfortable as I am right now. You can tell that I'm coming off just a little bit kind of uptight. I'm trying to be as professional as possible. Something that I kind of chuckle about when I look back on it now, as I thought I was being very loose, but I really wasn't. But still, it was a great interview nonetheless. So I really hope that you guys enjoy this episode. And hey, if you do like it, be sure to subscribe, be sure to comment, and follow us for all the great content that we're going to be putting up from here on out. And again, this is from the vaults. You guys on YouTube, you're in for a treat. This is especially for you guys. We've remixed it, stripped it away from the original audio that was surrounding it. We separated the interview from the entire episode, so you all are getting a nice little gift just for you. And if you're our subscribers, for sure you'll really appreciate this. So without any further ado, here you go, guys. We're rewinding back to July 12th of 2012. Enjoy.
Hold one, arm drag.
Let's go, witness. He is broken. Whoa!
This is
Brett screwed Brett.
Who are you to doubt El Dandy? Because this guy's a serious professional.
Brett screwed Brett.
Hold two, arm bar.
Hey, get a nice shot of the brand new Mr. and Mrs. Hunter Hurst Helmsley.
I hate you. I hate you. I hate your hat. I hate your t-shirts. I hate your wristbands. I hate your shoes. I hate your music. I hate the C Nation. I hate everything that you stand for.
Sodas rule. Yeah, they do.
Hold three, the moss-covered, three-handle family gradunzel.
Live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., this is the RCWR Show with your host, Lee Sanders.
And folks, I am very honored, I'm very humbled to have a very special guest with us on the show tonight, as originally I had saw this guy on an episode of Impact Wrestling, and I was very impressed with his in-ring work. I had liked what I saw, and I remember when I was talking to co-producer Tammy about this man, I sat up and I had said to her, this guy, he's definitely awesome. I don't quite understand his gimmick, but I'm one of those type of people, when I don't understand something, I try to make it be my business to educate myself. And I remember when I was talking to then co-host at the time, James McConaughey, I had said to this guy, hey, you know, this man is definitely going to be having a longevity in this sport, because we're talking about him, and if we're talking about him, hundreds to thousands of other people are probably going to be talking about him as well. And he has a ton of followers on Twitter, and he has a ton of followers on Facebook. I mean, he's been making his presence felt all across the indie circuit, as he's wrestled in promotions such as Ring of Honor, NWA. He's even done a little bit of work for the WWE off and on within recent years. and he was also one of the founders for the California-based company Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, where he served as a booker, not to mention founder, and he also wrestled for the promotion. And most recently, folks, he was on TNA Wrestling, where things didn't quite go as planned, and we will definitely get into more details about that, folks. So, without any further ado, the RCWR Show, myself, we are very proud to have our special guest, Mr. Joey Ryan. Joey, how you doing, bro? How you doing tonight?
Thanks for having me. The pleasure is all yours.
Well, it's definitely an honor and a privilege to have you on the show, Mr. Ryan. We definitely appreciate it. I know you've had a pretty busy day today. Definitely appreciate you taking the time out to join us on this episode. Definitely appreciate it. And we haven't even given out the phone number yet, folks, and we already have a few people that have called in. Definitely appreciate those of you that have called in, whether it's to listen to this episode or to talk live with Joey on air. We'll definitely get to your calls in just a little bit. So, Joey, how you been?
I'm doing all right. Like you said, I've been busy these days. A lot of extra attention since the segment on Impact.
Right. Without a doubt. I definitely understand that. And, folks, I know there are those of you that have sent me a few direct messages on Twitter, and you also had sent me some emails with regards to asking Mr. Ryan about what all had went down with his appearance on Impact Wrestling. We'll definitely cover that in just a little bit, folks. But at the same time, I'm also going to make sure that, Joey, I ask you questions that may not have been asked to you before, as when it comes to having guests on the RCWR show, I like to do my very best to prepare for my guests and try to do a little bit of homework of my own. And some of the questions that I ask, hopefully they will not have been rehashed, because I am not all for asking questions that have already been asked previously and the information is out there, anybody can seek it. So on that note, I would like to kick things off by asking you what had made you get into wrestling, because as I understand it, you've been wrestling now since 2000, so you have 12 years of experience under your belt in the sport. What made you decide to go into wrestling?
I grew up a fan. I have three older brothers, so some of my earliest memories are of professional wrestling. Then, I've got friends in high school and throughout school, actually, that were into it. And then I was at the WWE show in Anaheim back then, probably late 99, and we got a flyer for an indie show, and we never even knew independent wrestling existed, so we went to the show and checked it out, and we really had a lot of fun. And then a buddy of mine did more research, found out they had a wrestling school, wanted to try the school, didn't want to go alone, so he talked me into going with him. And then 6 months later he quit, and 12 years later here I am.
Wow, that's amazing. That is amazing. And I believe you're 31, right?
32.
32, wow. Yeah, we're the same age. All right, that's awesome. Wow, that is just amazing. That is an amazing story. Who were some of the wrestlers that you either idolized or were some of your favorites growing up that you built your wrestling persona around, if you will?
Gosh, I didn't, my persona isn't really, I was a big fan of wrestling in the 80s, and, once when you get into wrestling, you feel like there's a lot of wrongs and a lot of rights. You have to follow a lot of do's and don'ts to be successful. But, once I got established myself, I realized that wrestling is kind of a blank canvas, and you can paint it however you want. And the kind of wrestler I wanted to be was the kind of wrestler I grew up liking, which was, an 80s style with that look and that swagger. So I just adapted an 80s look. But the thing is, I took, what I thought was probably the coolest icon of the 80s, and that was Magnum P.I., and I tried to, bring him up to date. But, as cool as Magnum P.I. was in the 80s, if you saw somebody walking around like that in 2012, you'd think he was creepy or sleazy. So by trying to be the biggest 80s babyface I could, I ended up being a 2000-era heel.
It's funny that you had said that, because as I was sitting up and I was watching you throw it down with Austin Aries, which was a fantastic match, I'm sitting up and I'm saying to myself, this gimmick, I don't quite get it. I can't quite put my finger on it. Something is a little bit familiar about it. I'm not sure what. I'm just taking the time to watch you, and I remember at the time I was talking to my then co-host James, and I sat up and said to him, this guy, he's very impressive in the ring. He definitely has that drive to last in the business for a good while, and it just made me want to learn more about you and try to understand the gimmick that you have. And watching your videos on YouTube, watching some of your matches and learning more about you, and after definitely hearing you talk about Magnum P.I., I can definitely relate to Magnum P.I. as he was one of my favorites growing up. It was nice watching him throw it down. I mean, I used to make it be my business to watch him in the AWA promotion back in the day. So, anybody that really doesn't understand Magnum P.I. and the comparison to your gimmick, they really just don't understand anything about professional wrestling, in my honest opinion. Can you please tell me, with regards to your wrestling character, would you say that your wrestling persona is different from your personal life, your real character, as sometimes we hear those stories where we have wrestlers that aren't able to turn it off when they're outside of the ring and the spotlight isn't on them, and sometimes we hear that they get into a little bit of a sticky situation as a result of always being that character 24/7.
I definitely it's definitely part of me, and it's inside me. But I would describe it as I have a Bruce Banner side and I have a Incredible Hulk side, and what the Incredible Hulk side is when you get when I get in the ring and when I get the lights on me and I'm on the stage. And the Bruce Banner side is the person who's talking right now, but it's still the same person. It's still deep inside me. It's something that I let out at the right moments, and if it wasn't a part of me, I think it would come off very unrealistic or very like forced. So and people would see through it. But I try to make sure that I stay within myself and make sure that every part of my character you see on screen is a part of me, because I don't want to get in a situation or a circumstance where it feels forced or it feels like I'm faking something.
Right on. I can totally dig that. Now, let me ask you, when I was sitting up and doing research on you, I had found out how you had founded the PWG promotion with 5 other colleagues, and I'm just amazed at how you sat up and you were a founder and you did the booking and you did the wrestling. How were you able to do all of those things with a cool level head, as that's a ton of responsibility?
It wasn't something that we really necessarily thought out. We just, at the time of the 5 of us or the 6 of us, we were just kind of tired of these promotions popping up and dying because they were run by people who didn't know anything about wrestling or being told the wrong things or trying to do something that wasn't within their grasp. So we just decided to make basically a promoterless promotion and call in favors and just use what we knew about wrestling, and and one show was successful, so it became 2 shows, and 2 shows were successful, and so on. In July, PW is going to have its 9-year anniversary.
Wow, 9-year anniversary?
Yeah.
That is amazing, as that is a milestone in itself. And hey, congrats in advance, and hey, maybe something special can happen next year as you all do the 10th year anniversary for the promotion.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's what's up. So tell me, you've been in the independent circuit now for a good while, and you have that type of schedule where you can basically choose to work where you want to work, when you want to work. And I'd like for you to tell me, how does it feel to be your own boss, to have your own schedule, as unfortunately we have some wrestlers that don't have that luxury, as they are designated to one promotion and they really don't have time for a social life, a private life, if you will?
I love being independent. The obvious downside is the fact that you don't have a steady paycheck. But if you work hard and you plan your bookings out and you establish a personality that's worth remembering, and people, even if people don't like you necessarily, they they remember you, and they'll buy your merchandise and stuff like that. It's very hard to keep that going. But at the same time, I've never had to miss a wedding or a family occasion or a birthday or the birth of anybody. I've been able to pick and choose my own schedule, which is a nice luxury to have. It's very underrated. I think a lot of guys that are in the, on TV, have TV contracts, really, have to miss out because, their contract obviously comes first because that's their job. You're not going to make $1 million on the independent wrestling scene, but if you plan your career right and you establish yourself and you get merchandise going and you market yourself, you can make a living. It's not an easy one, but and again, the benefits are being able to pick and choose your own schedule.
Yeah, I definitely feel where you're coming from. I can definitely appreciate that. I mean, I know when I was sitting up and I was putting my wrestling website together and I was putting the radio show together early on, I had came across those that I had the unfortunate pleasure of working for, gave me a little bit of resistance as I'm showing up when I'm supposed to show up for work. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm meeting all my commitments. I'm staying for however long they need me to stay. And when it comes time for me to have that little bit of social time to myself, it's my time and I can do whatever I want to do. I met that resistance where basically it was, hey, you either submit to us 100% or you go find yourself a new gig. And after hearing that, but for so long, you just sit up and say to yourself, you know what, I've had enough of this. I'm going to make my own moves. I'm going to do whatever I got to do so that I can be my own boss. And I can definitely appreciate that aspect as, unfortunately you have some wrestlers that aren't able to spend time with their loved ones. They miss out on the birth of their kids. Heck, we even have some wrestlers who miss out on the first few years of their children being born and seeing them grow up and missing all those special moments. So I can definitely appreciate that schedule where you have that flexibility to be able to do whatever you want to do when you want to do. So mad kudos to you for being able to take advantage of life in general. Now, keeping all that in mind that you had just said, what had made you decide to try out for the TNA Wrestling Company? What had made you try out for the TNA Gutcheck? Now, I know that Dave Lagana had a little bit of something to do with that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if I'm not mistaken, he had got in contact with you to see if you might be interested in coming down there. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yes. I've worked with David on NWA and at Ring of Honor and at Ring of King. So when it came time for TNA was looking for uncontracted guys, he suggested me, and they liked it and they wanted to go with it. Again, it's being an independent wrestler, you have to know which ways to market yourself and which ways to and obviously it was a nice pay for me to come out there and do that. But also I looked at a way for me to get my name on national television and sell some more merchandise and get a few more bookings out of it, and again just work the independent scene.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, your match with Austin Aries, which was really a great match, I really loved it a lot. Did you happen to work with him before, or that was the first time that you all had hooked it up?
If I had what?
If you had worked with him before, Austin Aries?
A couple times. I think we've only had maybe one singles match before that, but we did a couple tags.
But did you know going into this televised match that you were going to be going one-on-one with Austin Aries?
No, I had no idea until I got there.
Yeah, because, your match with Austin Aries, it just was really impressive. I
was just loving the way you two were getting it on in the ring. I love how you had handled yourself in that contest. It just really came off as if you two had been working a feud for a couple of months. I was just really impressed with how you handled the X Division champion.
Oh, well, thank you. It's just being familiar with somebody and being comfortable, because I knew his style and I knew his abilities. He's a true professional. So, I was really thrilled. I could have gotten a lot. I could have gotten a lot of opponents that I wouldn't have had so much chemistry with. So it was really good to get to face him.
Yeah, because, as we were watching your match, myself, co-producer Tammy, Zed, we're kicking back, we're watching your match with Austin Aries, and we're paying attention to the Twitter feed at the same time, and we're seeing how it's like practically unanimous that everybody is rooting you on. They're saying yes. Joey Ryan, he definitely needs to be offered a TNA contract, and we just continue to watch the feed all the way up until the next time you show up, and it just continues to be that way as everybody is just wanting you to get that TNA contract, and we all over here, we're definitely like, yes, he definitely should get a contract. He definitely has what it takes, in-ring ability. Give this man a contract. And we all know of the circumstances surrounding the first TNA Gutcheck winner, and there is a lot of speculation, there's a lot of rumors that's going around about what all had transpired with that, and it's not really our cup of tea to be talking about rumors, speculation. We don't really like dipping into that, but here's a well-known fact. That guy hasn't been seen since. Now, we come to you, Joey, and it's your time to go in front of the judges, and we're expecting you to definitely get offered that TNA contract, but here we got the judges, Bruce Pritchard, who sits up and says no to you, as basically he feels that he doesn't understand your gimmick. He's not really sure what you're about, and basically since he doesn't understand your gimmick, that's really the reason why that he's voting no. And to add more insult to injury, he says that basically even though you've been doing what you've been doing for the past 12 years, you're just basically not quite there yet. We got Al Snow, who is sitting up and only saying yes because he's trying to play kiss-up, if you will, to the fans. He's trying to give the fans what they want, but he's not speaking for himself as a judge, speaking from the heart. He's going the fan route, but things get really hot-headed and personal when Taz comes up to you, and now it's his time to vote, and Taz sits up, and not only does he say no, but he basically puts out there how basically the promo that you gave just wasn't it, that you basically blew your chance, you blew your shot. But to add more insult to injury, he basically verbally craps on you and craps on everything that you have done over all these years, talking about you don't have what it takes and questioning your life and just all that. And Taz just really came off like a really total dick, as he just really took it to you personally. How did that make you feel?
Well, again, wrestling is very, opinionated, and if the reasons was like, hey, I don't get it, or I wasn't impressed, or I don't, you rubbed me the wrong way, or I just didn't like you. I can accept all those reasons, and it wouldn't have upset me so much, but I'm not going to stand idly by if you're going to talk down to me or try to dress down my abilities or try to insult what I've been doing for 12 years. I'm going to stand up for myself, because if I don't stand up for myself, then who will? So that's just, I felt very offended by his words, and I don't know if it was part of their agenda or if it was because I know. Taz and Bruce Pritchard were very upset, and I think it's because the segment didn't go as they had envisioned it, with Taz being presented as the tough, badass judge that everyone backed down from and feared, because I'm not going to back down from anybody if they're not showing me respect. He might feel like I was being disrespectful, but I think I was disrespected first, and so that's why I stood up for myself.
I don't blame you one bit, bro. I think anybody in that position would have definitely done the same thing and would have stood up for themselves, whether it be wrestling or just in general, whatever profession, career path you may be in. I think anybody would have sat up and done the very same thing that you did, and I commend you for that, because if you're sitting up and you know you're in the right, you haven't done anything wrong, and you got all the drama, you got all the hate that's coming to you first, you're definitely going to sit up and stand your ground and let it be known that, hey, this isn't right. And keeping all that in mind, now, we would know that Hulk Hogan a few weeks back would sit up and reveal how TNA Impact is to become more unscripted, as the goal is to try to have the talent come off more real, try to have it be more passionate. Would you agree that, hey, it should go that route? Or knowing what you know now and what had went down with Taz, do you feel that there really should have been some type of a script, or that there should have been some type of bullet points, if you will, so that everybody is on the same page and know what is going to be covered, know what's going to be said? Because, let's say, for example, you and I, we're going to have a match, and leading up to that match, I sit up and I say, hey, Joey, I'm going to cut a promo in the ring, and I'm going to say something really messed up about your mother. I'm not sure what, but it's going to be something really messed up. It's going to prompt you to come out, and you just go off of your emotions, and you just let me have it verbally. Do you really feel that there should have been some type of a script, bullet points, knowing what you know now, what had went down between you and Taz? How do you feel about that?
I appreciate their effort to be something different, because I think wrestling needs something different. I think wrestling's too, it gets stale, and if it doesn't evolve, and I think wrestling is a lot of times reluctant to evolve and, catch up with the times and all that stuff. And reality is very popular, and reality TVs are the most popular TV shows, so I get where they're coming from, and again, I appreciate them trying something new. I think what we did, what occurred on that segment, I might have pissed Taz and Bruce Pritchard off because, the segment didn't go as they envisioned. But, I think there's got to be producers, executives, whether it's Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff, or somebody at TNA that had to realize that was good TV, and that's why it's so popular right now. That's why people are talking about it. So if they want reality TV and they want guys to come off naturally, and they want guys to, they want these moments captured that aren't planned, then I think they need to realize that they probably had their biggest one right there, and and again, maybe they're trying to capitalize it by showing footage the week after when they didn't have to. They brought it back and they showed the footage of me and Al Snow backstage. Maybe they're trying to capitalize on it that way. I don't know what their plan is. I don't know what their agenda is. I haven't talked to anybody from there. So whatever it was, I think if they want reality TV, that's what they got. I just don't know why they're not, why they're dragging them so slowly on it. Why they're not, if they're going to be reality, they should just jump right in. They shouldn't, dip their feet and see if the water's cold or warm before they get in.
You touch a very valid point. So let me ask you this: if TNA's Hulk Hogan, because as we all know, he has a lot of stroke in that company right now, or TNA President Dixie Carter, one of those two were to hit you up, give you a call, whether it be as soon as we're done with this show or they hit you up first thing in the morning, they were to call you and say, look, Joey, we understand that some things had went down when you were last here. Things got a little heated, but we want to try to make things right. We definitely have to acknowledge the TNA fans as they let their voices be heard. Hey, by 87%, that you are the guy that they want in this company. Would you be interested in them offering you a contract, knowing what you know now, what all had went down with Taz and everything, how everything just went the route that it went, would you be interested in accepting a contract from TNA if they offered it to you?
I guess it would depend on the type of contract. Like I'm not, I live in Southern California and it's not cheap, but I still make enough money independent wrestling to do it. If they want to give me the Alex Silva deal and send me to Louisville and pay me whatever he gets per week, that is way less than I'm making now, then no, I don't think that would be good for me personally. Maybe if I was 20 years old instead of 32, yeah, but so it really depends on the deal they offered me, because I don't want to sit in a developmental territory for another 2 or 3 years just rotting away. So it would really really depend on the deal they would offer me and what if they made it worth it to me to come to the company.
Now, I can totally respect that, without a doubt. Definitely respect that. So let me ask you, now that TNA's in the past, you have TNA, who you've had the pleasure of working for, and all these other wrestling promotions that you've wrestled for over the years. Have you found that these promotions differ in any way, or are they the same? If so, how, and how do they differ?
The different promotions bring different things to the table. I think no two are alike. The wrestling, I do what I do, and my goal, whether people enjoy my matches or not, my goal is to be memorable, because that's what's going to keep me relevant. So no matter what the match is, the situation, the promotion, or any of that, my first and foremost, my goal is to be memorable. So I approach the different shows with the same aspect, although they're all unique to themselves.
Right. I can understand that. Now, you were talking about your gimmick, your character earlier, how it's a bit of a homage, if you will, to Magnum P.I. and to the 80s. I'm just curious, what was it about the 80s that you loved?
It was just like a lot. I'm also a big, comic book nerd, and I like things that are larger than life, and that was really, the time in wrestling where everybody was larger than life. You had a lot of fancy characters. You had a lot of different, different things going on. Like, just everything. And maybe it was because I was younger too, and I was a child, looking up to these big, humongous, wrestlers. Everything that I remember from that era was big and larger than life, and I wanted to try to capture that in today's world, because everything is so, MMA influence, and everything is so real, and everything is so tough, and I just wanted to make things fun.
Right, I can definitely appreciate that. It's funny because I can remember the 80s as if it were yesterday, and man, how I miss the 80s so much. I can remember the cartoons that used to come out back then, the music videos, MTV. I was just a huge MTV fan, and I just missed the 80s. I remember actually sitting up the other day talking with somebody, and we were talking about which era was better, the 80s or the 90s, and I'm like, nah, man, the 80s were definitely it. I just missed those times. It just seemed like it was good old-fashioned, clean fun. Nobody was really pushing the risque envelope, if you will. How I wish those times were back, just really miss those days.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Now, I see that we have one or two people who have been patiently waiting to talk with Mr. Joey Ryan, so we'll definitely go on ahead and we'll bring you on live on the air, and feel free to ask your questions that you may have for Mr. Joey Ryan before he leaves the show for the night. You can kick back, smile, and dial and be live on the air. Just call toll-free 1-888-342-9848. Again, that's 1-888-342-9848. When you come on the air, please let us know your name and where you're calling from, and then proceed to ask your question. So, without any further ado, caller from the 269 area code, you are now live and on the air, my friend. Say hello.
Hey, this is David from Michigan. Hey, what's up, Joey?
Hey, how's it going?
I had a question for you about who do you think the next guy besides yourself out of Ring of Honor to go with either TNA or W, or who should get a shot at it?
Who do I think should, or who do I think will? Because honestly, my
should is different.
Yeah, because my favorite guy in Ring of Honor right now is Kevin Steen. He's my favorite guy anywhere right now in independent wrestling. I think he's so entertaining, and he has great quality matches. Does he have the look that TNA and WWE look for? Probably not. So I don't know if he will get a shot, but I think he should, because I think he's really, really great at what he does.
You had another question?
Yeah. Do you think that that Davey Richards could make it in TNA or the WWE?
I think Davey's awesome. I think he has the ability to wrestle anywhere in the world. He's proved that by wrestling pretty much anywhere in the world. There isn't as many opportunities for guys his size in his height, at least in on mainstream television. But if anybody can break the barrier, it can be him. I think he's very talented, and I've got to see him since he started in 2005, and to where he is now, and he's one of the best in the world.
And caller from the 269 area code, thank you so much for calling. Greatly appreciated. And when I think of Kevin Steen and Davey Richards, and folks, I should let you all know that I'm actually a Ring of Honor late bloomer. I actually caught on to them just a couple of months back, and off and on I'm able to see matches, I'm able to see shows. I wish that I could see the shows that they do every Saturday night, but it's such a hard time getting a hold of those episodes, as they're supposed to make them available on their website. And I remember I had a membership for them, but they were taking their sweet time loading up the episodes on there. But from what I was able to see, Davey Richards and Kevin Steen, ooh, man, those guys are entertaining as hell to watch. I love watching them. I never get tired of them. And, Joey, you bring up a good point. They may not have that look, but, the same argument can be made for CM Punk and Daniel Bryan. And, I mean, look at where those two guys are now. Talk about paving the way for other wrestlers such as them to come that don't have that unique look as far as wrestlers we've used to seeing over the years with the big, bulky, tall, husky, chisel type of look, if you will. So, Joey, what you got coming up, bro? What you going to be doing next?
I have a couple shows in Southern California this weekend. On Friday night, I'll be wrestling for the IWL. I'll be teaming with the Amazing Red against the Young Bucks, who were Generation Me and when they were on Impact. And then Saturday I have an NWA Hollywood television taping in Glendale, California.
Well, Joey, we definitely appreciate you taking the time out to come on to the show tonight. We know that you had a pretty busy schedule. We definitely appreciate you taking the time out to do this interview. And, hey, anytime you want to come on by the show, you are more than welcome to do so. As far as we're concerned, anybody that comes on the RCWR show, they are a RCWR member for life. So we really appreciate you coming on to the show. Anytime you want to come on back, you're more than welcome to. Really appreciate you taking the time out to be on the show tonight. It means a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right, well, have a good night.
You too.
And that was Joey Ryan stopping by the RCWR show back from July 12th earlier this year. It was a really great honor to have him on the show. Great moment right there. I can only imagine how it would be now if I had him on the show. I think we would have a lot more fun this time around than what had happened initially. I know it was a really good interview back then, but just the fact that I have a lot more seasoning under my belt now, I think that it would just be a better show altogether. And I haven't reached back out to him ever since he had popped up on the show. I know he's been a very busy man. I have tried hitting him up a few times, but he's really hard to catch up with, especially around this time. I will definitely try to touch bases with him again, and hopefully we can have him come back on the show. I would love to hear what all he's been up to and how he's been enjoying the ride in TNA wrestling so far. But once again, that was Mr. Who Wants a Mustache Ride, Joey Ryan. Can't wait to have him back on to the show. You know, it's always fun when we have guests stop by the RCWR show or Impact Showdown Radio. It just makes my job even sweeter to be able to sit down and interview these great men and women that I, like many of you, check out on a weekly basis. And it's even more cooler to be able to sit up and just tap inside their psyche for a little bit and get to know more about them, as you know, you only know but so much that the TV is telling you. There's only so much a camera can tell you about a person. So it's always fun when we have somebody stop by the show. But that's going to do it. I do hope you appreciated the episode that we did. And if you're a Joey Ryan fan, hopefully we did that interview justice for you guys. You know, honestly, for a guy back then that was still kind of wet behind the ears when it came to interviewing folks, I think I handled myself pretty well. Of course, I am 10 times better than what you had heard now. But yeah, you know, if you liked it, definitely subscribe and follow us. We do new shows every single Tuesday night and Thursday nights at blogtalkradio.com. You can also befriend us on Twitter. Just hit us up at Infinity1Prod. And that's going to do it, folks. Thank you for checking out this special rewind episode from the vaults, as I like to dub it, featuring Joey Ryan. That's going to do it till we hear from you all next time. Y'all be safe and be kind to one another, folks. We'll see you next time. Do take care.